They thought Earth was vulnerable until the warships appeared. They had been watching Earth for almost 100 years. Their spy drones floated quietly in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, recording everything about the small blue planet. They watched humans grow from simple machines to computers. They watched their wars. They watched their struggles with weather and pollution. They watched them send small rockets to their moon and tiny robots to nearby planets. High Commander stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Iron Claw. He was tall for his species, with dark green scales and 4 yellow eyes that never seemed to blink. His clawed hands rested on the railing as he looked at the holographic image of Earth floating before him. "Tell me again about their defenses," he said to his tactical officer. Officer stepped forward, his smaller frame hunched in respect. "They have almost nothing, High Commander. Some satellites in orbit that watch for missiles, old nuclear weapons that they point at each other, a few hundred aircraft that cannot even leave their atmosphere. Their fastest ships take months to reach their nearest neighbor planet." Made a low rumbling sound in his throat. It was the way of laughing. "And their population? 8 billion. Most of them live in large cities, easy targets." "What about allies, other species who might protect them?" "None, High Commander. They have not made contact with any other species. They do not even know the galactic community exists. They are completely alone." Turned to look at his bridge crew. 15 officers worked at their stations, all of them experienced veterans of many conquests. The Empire had taken 47 worlds in the last 300 years. Some had fought hard. Some had surrendered quickly. All of them now served the Empire. Earth would be number 48. "How long until we reach their system?" asked. 12 hours at current speed, High Commander." "Good. Signal the fleet. All ships prepare for standard invasion protocol. We hit their major cities first, destroy their military bases, then land troops to round up survivors for processing." "Yes, High Commander. What about their leaders? Should we try to capture them?" Considered this for a moment. Sometimes it was useful to keep local leaders alive. They could help control the population, make the transition smoother. But looking at Earth, at its divided nations and constant internal conflicts, he decided against it. "No, kill them all. These humans seem troublesome. Better to start fresh with new leadership that we choose ourselves." The Iron Claw was the largest ship in the invasion fleet, but it was not alone. Behind it flew 23 other warships of various sizes. There were heavy cruisers with planet-killing weapons. There were troop carriers filled with thousands of soldiers. There were fast attack ships designed to hunt down any enemy who tried to run. It was enough firepower to conquer most worlds, and Earth was not most worlds. Earth was primitive. Earth was weak. Earth was going to be the easiest conquest in history. Or so they believed. On Earth, in a place called Colorado, there was a mountain. From the outside, Cheyenne Mountain looked like any other mountain in the Rocky Mountain range. Trees covered its slopes. Animals lived in its forests. Tourists sometimes drove past it on nearby highways without giving it a second look. But deep inside that mountain, behind blast doors made of steel and concrete, there was a secret. It was a secret that had been kept for over 60 years, passed down from president to president, known only to a handful of people in each generation. General Frank was one of those people. He was 61 years old, with gray hair cut short, and a face that looked like it had been carved from stone. He had served in the military for 40 years, fought in 2 wars, and commanded thousands of soldiers. But nothing in his career had prepared him for what he was about to do. "Show me the latest images," he said. Captain Lisa Tran, his aide, pressed a button on her tablet. The large screen on the wall changed to show a view of space. It was a feed from one of their hidden satellites, positioned far beyond Mars, watching the approaches to Earth. The fleet appeared as a cluster of bright dots against the darkness. 24 ships confirmed, Lisa said. They dropped out of faster-than-light travel about 6 hours ago. Current speed suggests they'll reach Earth orbit in approximately 11 hours. Have they tried to communicate? No, sir, no signals of any kind. They're running silent. Frank nodded slowly. He had expected this. The analysts had always said that when first contact came, it would probably be hostile. The universe was a dangerous place, and any species capable of crossing the vast distances between stars would likely be aggressive. Peaceful species tended to stay home. What's their weapons capability? He asked. Lisa pulled up another screen showing analysis of the alien ships. Based on energy signatures, they're using plasma-based weapons and kinetic projectiles, nothing we haven't seen before. Before referred to the crashed alien ship that had been found in 1952. It had landed in a remote part of Montana, killing its crew on impact. The technology inside that ship had changed everything, though the public would never know it. Sir, Lisa said quietly, what are your orders? Frank looked at the screen for a long moment. 24 alien warships were coming to conquer Earth. 8 billion people were going about their daily lives, completely unaware that everything was about to change. Wake up the fleet, he said. It's time. Lisa's eyes widened slightly, but she nodded and picked up a secure phone. This is Captain Tran, authorization code Omega 77. Initiate Protocol Lighthouse. I repeat, initiate Protocol Lighthouse. Thousands of miles away, in the cold, dark waters of the Pacific Ocean, something began to stir. The USS Hammer of God had been sleeping at the bottom of the sea for 23 years. It was not alone. 31 other ships lay scattered across the ocean floors of Earth, hidden from satellites, hidden from submarines, hidden from everyone except the small group of people who knew they existed. These were not ordinary ships. They had been built in secret underground facilities, constructed over decades using technology recovered from that crashed alien vessel. They used power sources that human science still did not fully understand. They carried weapons that could crack a planet in half. And now, for the first time, they were waking up. Commander Jake had been stationed aboard the Hammer of God for 3 years, but he had never seen the ship move. His job, along with his crew of 400, was to maintain the vessel, run training exercises, and wait for a day that everyone hoped would never come. That day had arrived. All stations report ready, his executive officer announced. Lieutenant Commander had been with Jake since the beginning. She was small but fierce, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Reactor at full power, weapons online, navigation systems active. Jake sat in the captain's chair, his hands gripping the armrests. The bridge of the Hammer of God looked nothing like anything in the regular Navy. The walls were smooth and curved, made of a material that seemed to shift colors in the light. Holographic displays floated in the air, showing information in ways that human engineers had spent years learning to read. How long since we received the activation order? Jake asked. 47 minutes, Captain. And the other ships? All 31 vessels report ready for surface operations. Jake took a deep breath. He had trained for this moment, they all had, but training and reality were very different things. Take us up, he said, nice and slow. The Hammer of God began to rise. It was enormous, nearly 2 miles long and half a mile wide. Its hull was made of an alloy that could withstand temperatures hotter than the surface of the sun. As it rose through the dark water, fish scattered in every direction, confused by this giant thing that had suddenly come to life. On the surface, the Pacific Ocean began to churn. Fishing boats in the area reported strange waves. A cruise ship heading to Hawaii changed course when its captain saw something impossible rising from the depths. The Hammer of God broke the surface like a whale breaching, sending water cascading in every direction. Sunlight touched its hull for the first time in decades, gleaming off the dark metal. It was not alone for long. All around the world, in every ocean, other ships were rising. The USS Lightning Strike emerged in the Atlantic. The USS Thunderborn rose near Japan. The USS Star Hammer surfaced in the Indian Ocean. One by one, 32 massive warships revealed themselves to a stunned world. People on beaches stared in shock. Airline pilots radioed impossible. News helicopters scrambled to capture footage. Within minutes, images of the enormous ships were spreading across the internet. The world had just learned its biggest secret. Admiral Cole received the news while she was eating breakfast in Washington, D.C. She was the only member of the Joint Chiefs of Staff who knew about the hidden fleet, and even she had never expected to see it activated in her lifetime. Her phone rang. It was the president. "What the hell is happening?" President William Hayes sounded both scared and angry. "I've got ships the size of cities appearing all over the world, and nobody told me about this." "Mr. President, you were scheduled to receive the briefing next month. We didn't expect the threat to arrive so soon." "What threat? What are you talking about?" Took a deep breath. "Sir, I need you to come to the Situation Room immediately. I'll explain everything. But the short version is this. Aliens are coming to invade Earth, and we've been preparing for this moment for 60 years. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. "I'll be there in 10 minutes, the president finally said. The Situation Room was crowded by the time arrived. Cabinet members, military leaders, and intelligence officials all sat around the large table, their faces showing various degrees of shock and confusion. On the main screen, news footage played on mute, showing the massive ships floating in the world's oceans. President Hayes sat at the head of the table, his expression unreadable. He was a tall man with broad shoulders and a calm demeanor that had helped him win 2 elections. But even his famous composure was being tested today. "Admiral Cole," he said, "please explain to everyone what you just explained to me." Stood and walked to the front of the room. She had rehearsed this briefing many times, but she had always hoped she would never have to give it. In 1952, an alien spacecraft crashed in Montana. The crew was killed on impact, but the ship itself was mostly intact. The technology inside was centuries ahead of anything we had. President Eisenhower made the decision to keep the discovery secret and begin a program to reverse engineer what we had found. She pressed a button, and the screen changed to show old black and white photographs of a disc-shaped object being loaded onto a truck. It took us 20 years to understand how their propulsion system worked, another 15 to figure out their weapons, and another 10 to begin building our own ships based on what we learned. The first vessel, the USS Hammer of God, was completed in 1997. Since then, we've built 31 more. "Why weren't we told about this?" the Secretary of State demanded. He was a short man with glasses and a perpetually worried expression. "This is the biggest secret in human history." "Because the fewer people who knew, the safer the secret was," replied. "We knew that eventually other aliens would come to Earth. We knew they would probably be hostile. If word of our preparations had leaked, if anyone had learned that we were building a defensive fleet, they might have come sooner or in greater numbers. So we kept it quiet. Only the president and a handful of others knew the truth." "And now aliens are actually coming?" the Secretary of Defense asked. "Yes, 24 ships, currently about 10 hours away. Based on our analysis of their trajectory and behavior, they're here to invade." "How do you know they're hostile?" someone asked. "Maybe they want to make contact peacefully." Shook her head. "They've made no attempt to communicate. They're approaching in attack formation, and their energy signatures match historical records we found in the crashed ship's computer. The species coming toward us is called the... According to those records, they're conquerors. They've destroyed or enslaved dozens of civilizations." The room fell silent. Everyone stared at the images on the screen, trying to process what they were hearing. President Hayes spoke first. "Can we beat them?" allowed herself a small smile. "Mr. President, our ships are built using technology that was old when they were still living in caves. The crashed vessel we found was from an ancient species that died out millions of years ago. They were far more advanced than anything they have. So yes, we can beat them. We can beat them easily." "Then why did you look so worried when you came in?" Smile faded. "Because after today, everything changes. The world will know we're not alone. They'll know we've been lying to them for 60 years. And every other species in the galaxy will know that Earth is not the easy target they thought it was. We're about to introduce ourselves to the universe, Mr. President. That's not something to take lightly." High Commander was reviewing the invasion plan when his sensor officer spoke up. "High Commander, we're detecting unusual activity on Earth." Turned his attention to the display. "What kind of activity?" "Large objects surfacing from their oceans. Very large objects." "Show me." The holographic display shifted to show Earth's surface. Red dots were appearing all over the planet's oceans, each one representing a massive vessel emerging from the water. Felt his scales prickle. That was impossible. Their surveillance had shown nothing like this. Earth had no navy capable of operating in space, no ships larger than their primitive aircraft carriers. "How big are these objects?" he asked quietly. "The largest ones are approximately 3 kilometers long, High Commander." 3 kilometers? That was bigger than the Iron Claw. "What about weapons? Are they armed?" I cannot tell, High Commander. Our sensors are having difficulty reading their hull composition. It's unlike anything in our database." Stared at the display, his mind racing. This changed everything. For a moment, he considered calling off the invasion, retreating to study this new development. But that would mean admitting failure. That would mean facing the Emperor with nothing to show for this expedition. No, they had come too far to turn back now. Whatever these ships were, they had to be inferior to technology. Humans were primitives. They could not possibly have built anything that could threaten the fleet. "Continue on course," ordered. "All ships prepare for battle. It seems the humans have some surprises for us, but it will not matter. We have conquered species with far more advanced technology than anything Earth could produce." But even as he spoke, a small voice in the back of his mind whispered that something was very wrong. On the bridge of the Hammer of God, Jake watched the alien fleet on his display. They were still hours away, but they were coming fast. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from Admiral Cole," reported. "She's broadcasting to all ships in the fleet." "Put it through." Admiral Cole's face appeared on the main screen. She was aboard the USS Constitution, the flagship of the Hidden Fleet, floating somewhere in the Atlantic. "All ships, this is Admiral Cole. By now you've all seen the sensor readings. The fleet will enter Earth orbit in approximately 9 hours. They have 24 vessels. We have 32. More importantly, our ships are equipped with technology far beyond anything they possess." She paused, and Jake could see the weight of the moment in her eyes. "For 60 years, we have prepared for this day. Thousands of men and women have dedicated their lives to building these ships, developing these weapons, training these crews. Many of them never lived to see this moment. But everything they did, every sacrifice they made has led to this." Her voice hardened. "They are coming to conquer our world. They expect to find a defenseless planet full of primitive people. They expect an easy victory. We are going to show them how wrong they are." Battle stations. All ships move to intercept position. We hit them before they get anywhere near Earth. Today, humanity shows the universe what we're made of. Cole out. The transmission ended. Jake looked at his crew, seeing determination on every face. These were people who had spent years training in secret, knowing that someday they might have to fight for their planet. Now that day had come. "You heard the Admiral," Jake said. "Let's go introduce ourselves." The Hammer of God's engines roared to life. and the massive ship began to rise from the ocean, water streaming off its hull. It climbed higher and higher, passing through the clouds, leaving Earth's atmosphere behind. Around the world, 31 other ships did the same. They rose from every ocean, from every corner of the planet, forming up into a fleet that no one had ever expected to see. Below them, 8 billion people watched in amazement. They did not yet know about the approaching alien fleet. They did not yet know that their world was in danger. All they knew was that something incredible was happening, something that changed everything they thought they knew about their place in the universe. On news channels around the world, experts tried to explain what was happening. Some said it was a secret military project. Some said it was an alien invasion. Some said it was the end of the world. No one got it exactly right. The truth was simpler and more amazing than any of them imagined. Humanity had known, for 60 years, that they were not alone, and they had spent those 60 years preparing to defend themselves. Now the moment of truth had arrived. The two fleets met near the orbit of Mars. On the Iron Claw, High Commander watched the human ships approach with growing unease. His sensors still couldn't get clear readings of their capabilities. Their hulls seemed to absorb most scanning frequencies, revealing nothing about what lay inside. "Hail them," he ordered. "Let's see what these humans have to say." His communications officer worked the controls. A moment later, an image appeared on the main display. It showed a female human in a dark uniform, sitting in a command chair. Behind her could see other humans working at strange floating displays. "I am High Commander of the Empire. You are trespassing in space claimed by the Empire. Surrender your ships and your planet, and your people will be treated fairly." The human female smiled, and did not like that smile at all. It was the smile of someone who knew something he didn't. "I am Admiral Cole of the Earth Defense Fleet. Let me be clear about something, Commander. You are the one trespassing. You have entered our solar system without permission, with obvious hostile intent. You have one chance to leave. Take it." Scales rippled with anger. No one had ever spoken to him this way. No one had ever dared to threaten a fleet. "You must be joking," he said. "Look at your sensors, Admiral. You're outnumbered. And even if you weren't, technology is far superior to anything." "I know exactly what your technology can do," interrupted. "I've spent my entire career studying it. I know the range of your plasma cannons, the yield of your torpedoes, the strength of your shields. And I'm telling you now, none of it is enough. Leave while you still can." Cut the transmission without responding. He turned to his tactical officer. "Analysis, can we beat them?" Hesitated. High Commander, I cannot get accurate readings of their ships. Their hulls are blocking our sensors." "Then guess." Studied his display, his claws clicking nervously. "Based on their size and configuration, I would estimate they have significant firepower. However, their technology should be less advanced than ours. We should have the advantage in any engagement." Nodded. "Then we attack. All ships open fire." The fleet unleashed its weapons. Plasma bolts streaked across the void, bright blue against the blackness of space. Kinetic projectiles followed. Massive chunks of metal accelerated to incredible speeds. It was enough firepower to crack a planet's crust. The human fleet did not move. On the bridge of the Hammer of God, Jake watched the incoming fire with studied calm. Around him, his crew worked their stations, their voices steady despite the wall of destruction heading toward them. "Shields at full power," reported. "Impact in 30 seconds. "All hands brace for impact," Jake announced over the intercom. Though if their shields worked as advertised, there wouldn't be much to brace for. The weapons struck the human fleet. Plasma bolts splashed against invisible barriers and dissipated. Kinetic rounds stopped dead, their momentum absorbed by shields that shouldn't exist according to known physics. Not a single shot got through. On the Iron Claw, chaos erupted. No damage to enemy vessels, reported, his voice rising. High Commander, no damage at all. Their shields absorbed everything. Stared at the display, his four eyes wide. That's impossible. No shield technology could withstand that barrage. And yet it did, High Commander. Before could respond, the human fleet began to move. And they moved fast, far faster than any ship their size should be able to move. They closed the distance between the two fleets in seconds, their weapons powering up with energy signatures that made the sensors scream warnings. Evasive action, shouted. All ships evasive action. But it was too late. The USS Hammer of God fired its main gun for the first time in history. A beam of pure white light lanced across space, striking the nearest cruiser. The beam didn't just damage the ship. It didn't just cripple it. It vaporized it, turning thousands of tons of metal and hundreds of soldiers into expanding gas in less than a second. Around it, the rest of the human fleet opened fire. More beams lanced out, each one finding a target, each one delivering instant death. Missiles launched, weapons that seemed to phase through shields as if they weren't there, detonating inside enemy ships with devastating effect. The battle, if it could even be called that, lasted less than 5 minutes. When it was over, only one ship remained, the Iron Claw. It was damaged, its engines failing, its weapons offline. It drifted in space, surrounded by the debris of what had once been a proud invasion fleet. On the bridge, stood alone. Most of his crew was dead, killed when secondary explosions had torn through the ship. The few survivors were trying desperately to restore some kind of function to the crippled vessel. The human admiral's face appeared on what remained of his display. I told you to leave, she said. Her voice was calm, almost sad. You should have listened. His legs gave out and he slumped to the deck. Everything he had believed about humans, about Earth, about his empire's invincibility, had been proven wrong in the space of a few terrible minutes. What are you?" he whispered. "We're humans," replied, "and we've been preparing for you for a very long time." She paused, and when she spoke again, her voice was harder. "I'm going to let you live, Commander. I'm going to let you take your ship and go back to your empire. And when you get there, I want you to tell them what happened here. Tell them that Earth is not the easy target they thought it was. Tell them that anyone who comes to our world with hostile intent will meet the same fate as your fleet. Do you understand?" Managed to nod. "Good, now get out of my solar system." The Iron Claw limped away, its damaged engines barely able to achieve faster-than-light speed. It would take months to reach space, months during which would have nothing to do but think about what had gone wrong. Behind him, the human fleet maintained position, watching until the Iron Claw disappeared into the void. Then, slowly, they turned and began the journey back to Earth. The battle was over, but for humanity, everything was just beginning. President Hayes addressed the world from the White House lawn. Behind him, one of the massive warships hovered in the sky, visible proof of everything he was about to say. "My fellow citizens of Earth," he began, his voice carried by every television, every radio, every internet stream on the planet. "Today, I must tell you something that will be difficult to hear. For the past 60 years, your governments have been keeping a secret from you. In 1952, an alien spacecraft crashed on our planet. We recovered that ship and spent decades learning from its technology, and we used what we learned to build the fleet you now see in our skis." He paused, letting the words sink in. "This morning, an alien force entered our solar system with the intention of conquering Earth. They believed we were weak. They believed we were defenseless. They were wrong. Our fleet met them near Mars and destroyed them. One ship was allowed to leave, to carry a message back to their empire. Earth is not prey." Around the world, people watched in stunned silence. Some were angry about the deception. Some were frightened by the implications. But most felt something else, something unexpected. Pride. For all of human history, they had looked up at the stars and wondered if they were alone. Now they knew the answer. They were not alone, and the universe was dangerous, but they had faced that danger and won. "I know you have questions," the president continued. "I know many of you feel betrayed by the secrecy. In the coming days and weeks, we will release as much information as we can. We will explain how the fleet was built, who knew about it, and why the decision was made to keep it hidden. But right now, I want you to understand one thing. Everything we did to protect you. We knew this day would come. We wanted to be ready, and we were." He looked directly into the camera, his eyes meeting the eyes of billions of people around the world. "We are no longer alone in the universe. There are other species out there, some of them hostile, some of them perhaps friendly. The era of pretending otherwise is over. From today forward, humanity faces the stars not as ignorant children, but as a civilization prepared to defend itself. We have earned our place at the table. Now we must decide what we will do with it." The speech ended, and the world erupted into chaos. Some people celebrated in the streets. Others protested against the years of deception. Governments around the world issued statements, some condemning the secrecy, others expressing relief that they had been protected. Through it all, the fleet maintained its watch. Ships orbited the planet, their sensors scanning the void for any sign of another threat. Others returned to their hidden bases beneath the oceans, ready to rise again if needed. In a secure facility beneath the Nevada desert, a woman named sat in her office, watching the news coverage. She was 72 years old, one of the last surviving members of the original team that had studied the crashed alien ship. She had given her entire life to this project, sacrificing family, friendships, and any hope of normal existence. Now, watching humanity come to terms with the truth, she felt a strange sense of peace. Her phone rang. It was General. "I wanted to thank you. None of this would have been possible without your work." She smiled sadly. "I had a lot of help, Frank, a lot of good people who never lived to see this day. We're going to honor them. When things settle down, we're going to tell the world about everyone who contributed. They deserve to be remembered." "That would be nice." She paused. "What happens now?" Now we figure out what comes next. That will spread the word about what happened here. Other species will learn that Earth isn't the easy target they thought. Some will stay away. Others will want what we have. Yes, the technology in our ships is old by galactic standards, but it's still beyond what most species possess. There will be those who want to take it from us." Nodded, though couldn't see her. "Then we'd better keep building." "That's exactly what I was thinking." In the months that followed, Earth underwent a transformation. The existence of alien life changed everything. Old conflicts suddenly seemed petty when measured against the vastness of the universe. Nations that had been rivals began to cooperate, sharing resources and knowledge to strengthen humanity's position among the stars. The fleet expanded. New ships were built, incorporating lessons learned from the battle with the training programs recruited the best and from every nation, regardless of nationality or background. If humanity was going to face the galaxy, they would do it together. Jake was promoted to captain of the newly constructed USS Unity, the largest ship yet built by human hands. At nearly 4 miles long, it was a symbol of what humanity could achieve when they worked together. Its crew came from 30 different countries, speaking dozens of languages, united by a common purpose. "How does it feel?" asked him as they stood on the bridge for the first time. She had been promoted to his executive officer. They had served together since the beginning, and Jake couldn't imagine going into space without her. "Strange," he admitted. "A year ago, we were hiding at the bottom of the ocean, running drills for a day we never really expected to come. Now we're about to lead humanity's first expedition outside the solar system." "Are you scared?" Jake considered the question. "A little. There's so much we don't know, but mostly I'm excited. We spent so long waiting, now we get to actually do something." Smiled. "That's what I like about you, Jake. always looking forward. The Unity's first mission was to make contact with a species called the. According to the records found on the crashed alien ship, there were peaceful traders who operated on the edges of space. If humanity was going to survive in the galaxy, they needed allies. The journey took 3 weeks, using the faster-than-light drive based on technology from the crashed ship. When the Unity emerged from faster-than-light travel, they found a system with 2 habitable planets orbiting a yellow sun not unlike Earth's. "Contact," the sensor officer reported. "Multiple ships approaching. They're hailing us." Jake straightened his uniform. This was it. Humanity's first peaceful contact with an alien species. "Put them through." The main screen flickered and an image appeared. They looked something like large birds, with colorful feathers and intelligent eyes set in narrow faces. The one on screen wore elaborate decorations, suggesting high status. "Unknown vessel," it said, its voice translated by the ship's systems. "You have entered trading space. Identify yourselves." Jake stepped forward. "I am Captain Jake of the Earth Defense Fleet Vessel Unity. We represent the human species from a planet called Earth. We come in peace, seeking to establish friendly relations with the collective." There was a pause. Then the tilted its head in what might have been surprise. "Earth, the planet they attempted to conquer." "Yes, you've heard of that." "The entire galaxy has heard of that, Captain. They have been telling everyone about the primitive world that destroyed their fleet, although I notice they leave out the part about it being an invasion force." They made a sound that might have been laughter. "You have made quite an impression on the galactic community." Jake wasn't sure if that was good or bad. What kind of impression? "They have conquered many worlds. No one has ever defeated them so completely. There are those who fear you now, Captain, and there are those who are very interested in meeting the species that humiliated the Empire." "We didn't want to humiliate anyone. We just wanted to defend our home." "And you did, most impressively." They leaned closer to the screen. "I am Trade Master, voice of the collective. You say you come in peace. What is it you want from us?" Jake glanced at, who nodded encouragingly. "We want to learn," he said, "about the galaxy, about other species, about our place in all of this. We've been alone for so long. Now we know there's a universe full of civilizations out there. We want to be part of it." Trade Master studied him for a long moment. Then she made another sound that might have been laughter, softer this time. "You are very different from what we expected, Captain. They made you sound like monsters. Instead, I find a young species, eager to learn and grow. This is encouraging." "So you'll help us?" "They do not give help freely, Captain. We are traders. Everything has a price." She paused. "But I think we can come to an arrangement. Your technology is far in advance of ours. There are things you could teach us that would be very valuable. And there are things we know about the galaxy that you need to learn. Perhaps we can exchange knowledge." Jake felt a smile spreading across his face. This was it, humanity's first alliance. That sounds like a good place to start. Back on Earth, life continued to change. The truth about the alien crash had sparked a scientific revolution. Researchers around the world were given access to knowledge that had been hidden for decades, and they ran with it. New inventions appeared almost daily. Cleaner energy, faster transportation, medical breakthroughs that seemed like miracles. Not everyone was happy, of course. Some people couldn't forgive the deception. Some feared what the future might bring. Some wished they could go back to the comfortable ignorance of believing they were alone. But there was no going back. The universe had noticed Earth, and Earth had noticed the universe. Whatever came next, humanity would face it together. Died 6 months after the battle, peacefully in her sleep. At her funeral, thousands of people gathered, including scientists, soldiers, and political leaders from around the world. General gave the eulogy. "Gave her life for this," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "Not just her death, but her life. Every day for 60 years she worked to prepare us for a future she knew she might never see. She missed weddings and birthdays. She lied to friends and family about what she did. She made sacrifices that no one should have to make, and she did it because she believed in humanity. She believed that if we were given the chance, we could face the darkness of the universe and find light in it. He paused, looking out at the crowd. "'S work is done, but ours is just beginning. The galaxy knows about us now. There will be more challenges ahead, more threats, more enemies, but there will also be friends, opportunities, and wonders we can't even imagine. Gave us the chance to reach for all of it. Let's not waste it." As the funeral ended, the Unity was returning from its successful first mission. Trade agreements had been signed with the other species were reaching out, curious about the humans who had humbled the. The future was uncertain, but it was also full of possibility. On the bridge of the Unity, Jake looked out at the stars. They seemed different now than they had a year ago. Then they had been distant lights in the sky, beautiful but meaningless. Now they were destinations, places where alien civilizations lived and worked and dreamed, places humanity might one day visit. "Penny for your thoughts?" asked, coming to stand beside him. Jake smiled. "Just thinking about how much has changed. A year ago, we were a secret fleet hiding in the ocean. Now we're making treaties with alien species. It's a lot to process." "It is, but we're handling it pretty well, don't you think?" "I do." He turned to look at her. "You know what I keep coming back to, the thought we were weak. They looked at our planet and saw victims, easy prey, and they were so wrong, not because we had bigger ships or better weapons, but because they underestimated what we were willing to do to protect ourselves. You think other species will make the same mistake?" "Some will. There's always someone who looks at a peaceful civilization and sees opportunity, but that's okay. We'll teach them the same lesson we taught the." He paused, though hopefully without the death and destruction. Laughed, always the optimist. "Someone has to be." The Unity continued its journey home, cutting through the vast darkness between stars. Behind it, the and other species were already spreading word of their encounter. The humans were not what anyone had expected. They were neither the monsters they had described nor the helpless primitives their planet had suggested. They were something new, something the galaxy hadn't seen in a very long time. A young species, ready to find their place among the stars. And heaven help anyone who tried to stop them.